of locally generated revenues. I'll move to management of constituency development fund. 1. Failure to implement water reticulation project. Reason for the query: despite the payment amounting to 15,500 that was made, the water utility company took long to undertake the works of installing the water reticulation system, as it was reported that it did not receive the ordered plumbing materials on time, as the same were sourced from their head office in Kasama. Action taken: the company was approached and requested to speed up the process of implementing the project before the onset of the rain. The Council wishes to report that the water utility company has since implemented the project of installing the water reticulation system at Luselwamfumu village. Attached here too is the project completion report, and the same can be verified on the ground. The committee may refer to a set of documentation forming Appendix 9. One of the taps installed prepaid water meter at Luselwamfumu water reticulation project. I may wish to read that sentence, Chair, again. Okay. Oh yeah, it's depicting the pictures that have been put there. Remedial measure: the Council will always endeavor to have the engaged contractors under CDF to have the project's works completed in good time to enable the communities start assessing the services the community projects render. I'll move to construction, completion, and rehabilitation of various works in Kawimbe Ward. On 4th May 2021, the Council engaged Sunswitch Enterprises to undertake. Oh, I'll move
we're supposed to go through a reasons for the query.
Sure, Chair. Okay. So the reason for the query: due to insufficient funds allocation to the implementation of the project, the same could not be completed in the year of its commencement. Allocated funds to Lot 2, which had 3 separate classroom blocks construction projects, amounted to 244,518. This in essence meant thinly spreading the said allocation among the 3 big construction projects. As a result, the works planned to be undertaken according to the established BOQs for the projects could not be carried out to completion. Action taken: arising from the incomplete status of the project due to little funding allocated to it, the Council recommended for additional allocation of funds and got approval from the Ministry for the project to be completed. In this regard, the project was awarded additional 350,000 to have it completed, and works are progressing on well as shown in the pictures below, and the same can be verified on the ground. You can refer to Appendix 10. Remedial measure: the Council will strive to have all community projects that are near completion recommended for additional funding for them to be completed and become ready for use by the community. Advice has also been given to various stakeholders to ensure that projects funded are from start to completion. I'll go to construction, completion, and rehabilitation of various works in Mwamba Ward. The reason for query: the project of putting a classroom block at Mwamba Day Secondary School started way back in 2019, when the Council decided to allocate 89,185 to roof a 1x4 classroom block that was erected by the Mwamba community. However, due to the weakness of the superstructure of the building done by the community, it could not hold the roof firmly, resulting in it getting blown off by the strong wind. In this regard, due to the pressure from the community to have the classroom block re-roofed, The council again considered to engage a contractor under CDF to re-roof the classroom block with metallic spider trusses using the 2020 CDF allocation, where the project was put in Lot 3 together with construction of 1x3 CRB at Kakoza Primary, and together were allocated a 178,876, which was definitely not enough for the two construction projects. As the contractor was about to re-roof the CRB with metallic spider trusses, the superstructure of the 1x4 CRB collapsed due to its weakness, thereby making the contractor not to go ahead with the works of re-roofing the CRB. Action taken. Due to the need for community of Mwamba Ward to have an additional classroom block at Mwamba Day Secondary School, the council allocated 560,000 to construct a 1x2 CRB at the school under 2022 CDF allocation, and the construction works are progressing on well. The committee may refer to a set of documentation forming Appendix 10, and then also the pictures that have been put there. Remedial measure. To avoid poor workmanship as a result of engaging local laborers by the community, the council has fully contracted out the works of putting up a 1x2 CRB to a reputable contractor. I'll move to construction of 1x3 classroom block at Kakoza Primary School, delayed completion. The reason for the query: due to insufficient funds allocation to the implementation of the project, the same could not be completed in the year of its commencement. The allocated funds to Lot 3, which had two construction projects, amounted to 178,876. This in essence meant thinly spreading the said allocation between the two big construction projects. As a result, the construction works could not be completed with the allocated funds. Action taken. Arising from the incomplete status of the project due to inadequate funding allocated using the 2020 CDF allocation, the council through the CDFC had planned to allocate additional funding to the project using 2023 CDF allocation that is being awaited. The projects could not be prioritized for additional funding in 2021 and 2022 CDF allocations, as there were a number of other incomplete community projects that were competing for the same funds on top of newly conceived projects to be executed using the CDF allocations. In this regard, the council was put among several others to be appraised in this regard, the project was put among several others to be appraised to assess the required additional funding using the 2023 CDF allocation, and subsequently recommended for approval by the provincial local government officer. You can refer to a documentation forming Appendix 11. Construction, completion, and rehabilitation of various works in Luandi Ward. The reason for the query: the Chisenga Rural Health Post Staff House completion was put under Lot 8 for Luandi Ward with an allocated amount of 148,000 kwacha, in which lot there were also two other projects, namely completion of construction works of 1x3 classroom block at Isofu Primary School and completion of construction works of 1x4 classroom block at Chipoka Day Secondary School on request of the community through the area ward councillor. Nevertheless, when the field appraisal team comprising CDFC members went on the ground, they established that the staff house structure, which was built and roofed by the community with the plastering and glazing, putting window and door frames, painting and putting of doors as remaining works, was not up to standard, and the team felt that it would be waste of constituency development funds if it were allocated with any and recommended that the funds that were to be applied on the structure be varied and reallocated to the completion of 1x2 CRB at Senga Primary School in the same ward. Action taken. The funds that were to be applied on the completion of Senga Rural Health Post Staff House, amounting to 61,768, would be varied and reallocated to the completion of 1x2 CRB at Senga Primary School in the same ward. Further, the funds to be varied and reallocated, amounting to 61,768, were not sufficient to fully complete the project. In this regard, the CDFC, at the same time of writing this report, was in the process of considering to recommend to the provincial local government officer to allocate additional funds to fully complete the said project using 2023 CDF allocation, as the project was being appraised to assess the level of additional funding. So you can refer to Appendix 11. Remedial measure. The Council will endeavor to apply funds on viable projects after due diligence has been undertaken and ensure that community projects are fully funded to completion. I'll move to completion and rehabilitation of various works in Motomoto Ward under Lot 9. The reason for the query: due to insufficient funds allocation to the implementation of the project, the same could not be completed in the year of its commencement. The allocated funds to Lot 9, which had two construction projects, amounted to 134,174 for the completion of a staff house at Kati Community School and completion of construction of 1x3 classroom block at Mwambezi Chelilino Community School. This in essence meant thinly spreading the said allocation between the two big construction projects. As a result, the project could not be completed with the allocated funds. The action taken, arising from the incomplete status of the project due to little funding allocated to it in 2020 CDF, the Council, through the CDFC, had planned to allocate additional funding to the project using 2023 CDF allocation that is being awaited. The project could not be prioritized for additional funding in 2021 and 2022 CDF allocations, as there were a number of other incomplete community projects that were competing for the same funds on top of newly conceived projects to be executed using the same CDF allocations. In this regard, the project was put, among other several, to be appraised to assess the required additional funding using 2023 CDF allocation and subsequently recommended for approval by the Provincial Local Government Office. You have Appendix 11. The remedial measure. The Council will strive to have all community projects that are near completion recommended for additional funding for them to be completed and become ready for use by the community. I'll move to management of liabilities. 1. Failure to remit statutory and other obligations. Reason for the query: the Council failed to settle statutory obligations as they fell due as a result of financial constraints it has been facing. In addition to narrow revenue base of the local authority, it also faced a lot of resistance by the ratepayers to settle their dues in the election year, thereby making it difficult to enforce compliance. This subsequently made the local authority to find it difficult to make meaningful progress in settling its obligations as they fell due during the financial year under review. Action taken. Progressively, amid serious financial challenges, the Council made some strides to lodge partial payments to NAPSA in amounts totaling 166,488.48 ngwe in 2022 against the contribution arrears. In its 2023, the Council drew debt liquidation plans in respect of what it owes to creditors as a way of making steps towards reducing its debt burden. The 2023 Council budget has since been approved by the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, and we have Appendix 12 there, Chair. Remedial measure. The Council will endeavour to settle its statutory obligations following the set-out debt payment plans as its liquidity position improves. As a way forward, and with the instituted measures to improve its liquidity position, the Council will strive to settle its indebtedness as stated in the debt liquidation plans and strive to settle the current bills as they fall due. I'll move to failure to settle staff obligations. Reason for the query: the Council failed to settle its indebtedness in respect of what it owed its staff as they fell due to critical financial constraints it has been facing. In addition to the narrow revenue base of the local authority, it also faced a lot of resistance by the ratepayers to settle their dues in the election year, thereby making it difficult to enforce compliance. This subsequently made the local authority to find it difficult to liquidate its obligations in respect of what it owes its employees as they fell due during the financial year under review. Action taken. In its 2023, the Council drew debt liquidation plans in respect of what it owes its creditors as a way of making steps towards reducing its debt burden. The 2023 Council budget has since been approved by the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. We can refer to Appendix 12. Remedial measure. The Council will endeavour to settle its obligations towards its staff following the set-out debt liquidation plans once its liquidity position improves. As a way forward, and with the instituted measures to improve its liquidity position, the Council will endeavour to settle its indebtedness as stated in the debt liquidation plans and strive to settle the current bills as they fall due. Chair, I submit my report.
Thank you very much. We have taken about 40 minutes. Not very bad. Yeah, members of Parliament, you are now free to ask questions. Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll take you to page 1, where there is fees and charges. That is on page 2. Chair, they have attributed to the failure to settle build plot premiums because the Council, or rather the Ministry, dread in numbering the plots at the Kansentia border. I wanted to find out what made you budget for the plots that you knew that they were not even numbered yet, and you went ahead and budgeted for it. That is question number 1. Question number 2 is, what's the relationship between the planner and that of the director of works? Because I'm sure there was a comment that they gave before you could plan for these plots. What comment did the planners and the director of works give the Council? Did they meant to allow you to go ahead and plan or budget for these plots or not? I submit here.
Thank you. May you answer those 2 questions, then we go to another set briefly.
I'll attempt to respond, and then the DPO can also come in. The Council, yes, went ahead to have the plots that were not yet numbered budgeted for. We were under the impression that the process of numbering would be completed within the stipulated time. And that's the reason why we budgeted for the same plots. Maybe the DPO can add.
Yeah, but the question is, why were you in that impression?
At that particular time, we were really under a pressure to offload, plots to the public, and then also we wanted to operationalize, or rather have the area near the border opened up, because that has been our dream, to have the border opened up. So at that particular time, we really wanted the project to be implemented, and we thought the process could be done, within time.
Honorable Munda, connected to that, you may go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Introduce yourself as well.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Mbala Municipal Council. My name is Mulunda Darius, Member of Parliament for Siavonga constituency and a member of this committee. I think really your response, Town Clerk, we have no issues with you opening up those plots. We have no issues you developing that place. We have no issues about that. And it goes to the DPO, because the DPO knew those plots are not yet serviced, they are not yet numbered. But he kept quiet during your budget and allowed those plots to be budgeted for. Is that being realistic? Because here we operate with evidence-based issues. Because you can't budget if there was no document that now you have the plots, now the plots are numbered, then you just budget. Like you want to go back to Mbara. You assume you want to go back to Mbara, you don't have the money for fuel. Yes, you have to go back, but do you have the money for fuel? So what comes first? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, you can quickly then, Honorable Richard will come in. Just a quick one on Honorable Munda's question.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think that one we've taken note, and I think following the other budgets, I think we are really being realistic in terms of what we are including in the
So you agree you are not being realistic?
Yes,
Thank
Chair.
you. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Chair. Town Clerk, all the remedial measures you've said, now we will continuously undertake programs on radio, we'll be doing this. But you did those programs in 2021, according to your submitted, evidence. Febo, you did some program 2021. In January, you did some program 2021. June, you did some programs 2021. What do you think will now change? If you did these programs in 2021, nothing happened. What do you think will now make things change, even if you continue doing the same programs, so that you have some revenue?
Thank you, Chair.
Answer that one? Yes. Yeah.
Yes, we continued to undertake sensitization programs because we really wanted to be in touch with the communities, and we wanted them to have the willingness for them just to come through and pay the dues. But if you look through our report, that's the reason why we are saying we are now resorting to the use of the High Court bailiffs. So right now,
The use of what?
The use of the High Court bailiffs to enforce the Ratings Act in terms of the property rates. So, Chair, concerning the same action
What's the percentage of you would want to use the High Court bailiff of your clients?
For now, we want to target the commercials. So we are looking at about 40, properties that we want to start
Out of
on.
how many?
40 properties that will be visited. So, Chair, we are saying that we are using that action so that we can enforce. It's there in the Ratings Act, and we've tried these other methods like the Honorable MP has mentioned. But when we presented also in the last DDCC meeting, which we had 2 weeks ago, there was also another view which came from the stakeholders. they've requested that we hold one more meeting where we'll call again these business houses to come through. So
Why
that
do you think they are not able to pay? Are your charges affordable or they are not affordable? Because there are many reasons. It means when you begin to bring in bailiffs to your clients, there's something seriously not right.
Thank you, Chair. If we follow through the process that is undertaken when preparing a valuation roll, there is a time or a period where property owners are required to come and inspect the roll. So if they were not comfortable with the values that were proposed at that time, and if they missed that chance of them having them reviewed, then it's not the problem of the council. So the fees, as we are saying, I think they are affordable because they were approved by the tribunal.
No, you see, sorry, I'll narrate one situation we had in Kalomu.
Yes.
We went through that same process, and I was not even called for the interviews myself. And they put a formula that was the most expensive throughout the country. We tried Kitwe, Lusaka, Livingstone, it was the most expensive. And it was disastrous because most members would not afford. It was very expensive, and the council began to fight, and at some point they even came to giving 50% discount, still more. So that's why I asked you to say it is always very important that you look at whether the prices we are charging, the rates we are charging are affordable to the people. If they are not, then you lose completely. You know?
Maybe I can comment on that.
Yes, please.
Yes. Chair, you are right. So what we resolved as management, it is yet to go to council, is that we want to engage the ratepayers. So we are going to say, we want to entice them like to come forward and make payments. So we are thinking of introducing a 20% rebate on the residential properties and then a 10% on the commercials. So that will depend on them being willing to come through. So it's only those that will really show or demonstrate that they are ready to be paying their dues that will be considered. And then we are also looking at exempting the ratepayers, those that have been consistent, though there are very few. Those that have been consistent, like we exempt them maybe for a year not to pay the property rates. So we really want to entice them so that we increase the willingness for them to settle their dues.
Honorable Kapampi, then Honorable Nyambos.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just want to find out from the TC, why is it that it takes you so long to implement these issues for you to collect what is due to the council? If you look at what we're looking at, it's 2021, and we're in 2023. We're still making plans on how you can collect these revenues without even maybe depending so much on the audit report. You have your internal records which you can rely on to say, oh, there is this problem we are facing as a council. Why is it that it normally takes you so long to act on issues which you know once you collect, it will really help in terms of running the council? I submit, Chair.
Honorable Nyambos, I think we can take two questions at a go.
Chair, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Town Clerk, I've heard you, the initiatives that you're putting in place to entice people to pay so that you can collect. But when you look at the budget for Mbala, the budget performance, I think this one is even far below even a town council. It shows a gloomy picture, Chairperson, that things are not okay. Now, my first concern is you want to exempt those good ratepayers for a year. My view, Chair, is that I think find a way of encouraging them, not exempting them. Because if you exempt and you remain with the difficult ratepayers, that is the end of your council. Now, coming to my question, Chair, the poor performance of the budget, especially on local taxes, and I'll just deal with local taxes just like my other colleagues. They budgeted to collect 1.606537, 1,606,537 kwacha. They only collected 447, which is far below even half. Maybe I would say this was even a quarter. And it's a matter of concern. How do you run a council with this performance? With a deficit of 1.164 and 90 kwacha, just on rates. And you have lamented. One of the questions, Chair, difficult to enforce revenue actions due to the fact that it was an election year. Where is it written that during elections you should not collect, or the councils should stop functioning? People are exempted. The second question is that what actions did you undertake after the election year? This budget we are looking at, Chair, or the report is the 2021 report up to December. And the measures that you have put in place, number 3, you have said you have put measures, so many initiatives to ensure that you collect. And one of them, I will pick one, the engagement of bailiffs. You have not indicated the people who owe the council the 40, whom bailiffs will be unleashed on them to ensure that they pay. And I want, Chair, to go to the appendix that has been given to us. This appendix.
Appendix number what?
It's an appendix number 1. Appendix 1, one of the appendices there on 1 is the action on defaulters, a letter written to the bailiffs, town clerk. Why did it take you 1 year? And this is the letter that you are writing now on February 16th, when you knew that you are coming to this committee, engaging the bailiffs or interacting with the bailiffs, reminding them only what actions. Is this demonstrating the will to ensure that you enforce the provisions of the law in terms of defaulters on rates, that it takes you up to February 2023, just when you were about to appear to this committee, as my colleague Mr. Kapampi indicated? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. I think we have quite some questions now. You may have to answer them. May you answer them now?
Chair, I'll give an opportunity to the DF to respond.
Thank you, Chair. As alluded to in the report, there was a lot of resistance by the property owners to come forward and settle their obligations, especially it being an election year. There was really a battle with these ratepayers. But as it were, people are not just willing to comply with what the law provisions say. If you look at other revenues, we are scoring above 100 because we had put a lot of effort to have that done. But property rates, the challenge is that we have to follow what the Rating Act say. So procedurally, we are being advised that we should sensitize the people so that they should buy in what we are telling them. And that's why you find that we have appeared several times at Radio Swepo and doing a lot of correspondences with the community so that they can actually try to buy in without necessarily using force. But it's like that also is landing on deaf ears. That's why probably the TC said maybe this time around we can try to target a few property owners, especially those that are holding commercial properties, so that we can set an example to the people that actually this is.
But initially said, where you scored high, you had to work very hard. So it means on this one, you didn't work very hard.
He has stated the Rating Act and the provision that he provides for engagement. How much engagement is provided in the Act that it takes the whole 2022? You have been to the radio stations, doesn't work, you have correspondences, doesn't work, then bailiffs, you only choose 40. What actions are stated in the Rating Act, which I know very well? Thank you.
Chair, the 40 that we have targeted mainly is because we're looking at big figures, and we thought that probably if
You're looking at what?
The big figures that they hold.
You're not looking at the period. So if I haven't paid for the whole year, and my figure is small, the other one also has not paid for the whole year, why should I be left out?
Yeah, when we are looking at what we are to actually enforce, the issues that there are two, they are residential, and then there are also commercial properties. So we thought that probably it is an easy goal for the commercial property owners to come in and pay if we are to. And if you look at the composition of those that own residential properties, mainly are people who are really struggling in life, Chair.
Sorry, Chair, another follow. You demonstrate that you have no will to collect this money, and you have taken a very laissez-faire approach, or what do I say? You know, I'm a Tumbuka, I don't know proper English. You see, 1.1 million, failure to collect 1.1 million, then you want to select a few and sympathize with the others, whilst the law guides you on what actions to take. Does it choose? Or why are you taking this approach? I've got other issues coming on the equalization fund. You are failing to collect your local taxes. Then you say, no, people are struggling. The law demands that anyone who has a property which is in a rateable environment or rateable area should pay rates. It's a law. So you want to use your heart and not the law, that these people cannot pay. And you expect that you are going to provide services to Mbala and pay retirees and all those operation expenses. I'm worried, Chairperson. Thank you.
Maybe I can give a quick response to that, and then the director can also come in. Chair, it's not like we are going to forget about the residential property owners. No. We are saying we want to start with the commercials because those are the ones that owe us some substantial amounts. And we are not just looking at the current, we are also looking backwards. So once we see how this action will work on the ground, and then we'll roll on to the residentials. So for now, like...
See, Town Clerk, how many times do you remind them? Just give us a period. After I give it a warning today, reminding them of the bill, when do you remind them at home? And just tell us the methods you use to remind them, apart from the radio.
Thank you, Chair. Like we've indicated in the report, apart from the radio, we've also used the public address system. And I remember the time I joined, I think we did it continuously.
Yes, that's the second one. Then
yes.
That's all.
And then also the meetings. We've held some community meetings. Yes, yes, Chair.
No,
those are the
see,
ones that I can safely say.
All those. A person like me now, I live in Kaloma, I'm here. I'll miss the radio station, and I'll miss the public announcement. Don't you take bills? That's my question. Because a bill is more specific. You bring a bill to me, you put it. Whether it's under the door, you bring it to my house. Don't you do that?
Chair, what happens is that in a year we are supposed to collect property rates twice. That is January-June period and then July-December period. So what happens at the beginning of each half, we prepare and distribute the property rate bills. So after we have distributed those bills, we wait for 30 days. If the person doesn't come forth, we issue what we call a demand notice. So when a demand notice has been issued, we also wait for about, should be 30 days, and then thereafter it's supposed now to liquidate or rather precipitate into a warrant, which is supposed to be issued and then probably call the help of the courts bailiffs to come and...
But have you done, you have not done that, because we look at the period. You see, it's very important that you send a claim and you don't wait until the bill has accumulated so much that the person now even gives up to pay. And that's why I was questioned to say, how are your land rates? Are they affordable? Town clerk, tax, I'm not supposed to go and get a loan to pay tax. I'm not supposed to borrow to get tax. I must pay reasonably without sweating. That's what it's not there to kill the clients. Now I'm saying, if you are reminding them, because even if I haven't paid the bill, you must have a sequence that you send bills. Whether it's monthly or whatever, I must receive those bills so that I know, oh, my bill is going up, I need to pay. But if you are following that sequence of you don't pay the bill, warning you, go into what, we have not done that so far for a long time. There is need to look at, you need to look at how really, what the reasons why people are not paying. If you are saying they are poor, like you said, why did you give them high rates? There is a rate which is affordable. They eat and survive.
I think there is no excuse to this. Town clerk, can you collect this money? The excuse of elections, this is 2023, next year 2024, you cannot collect this 1.1, it accrues. This is just for 2021. If you include the rates for 2022, it will be higher amount, collection efficiency low. 2025, again an election will come. You have not answered my question. Where is it stated that during elections you should not suppose collect? And the other issue about rates is that they are due on demand. It's just courteous that we break them in 2 installments. Once the bill, as the chair has said, you submit a bill, someone is supposed to pay. And the actions are stated in the act. The bailiffs are supposed to move in because you have done your engagement. 1.1 million for Mbala is a lot of money for services to be provided in Mbala. And those outstanding issues you have, they're supposed to pay them. Do not use your heart. Use the law. Engagement and use the law. So we are worried. I'm worried, Chairperson. The excuse of election time does not suffice. Every time the law is the one which guides you to operate. Councils are regulated institutions. Everything you do is a regulation. And you just quote, and this is the action, it tells you. No, the people are not able to pay. Are you going to run that council? In this country, there's been models, Chair, I want to extend. There was a Mr. Swakwi who worked for Kalomo Council. The late, may he so rest in peace. I mean, Kalomo, you were transferred to Chipata. He found it was something months. People are not willing to pay. But the actions of Mr. Swakwi, the late, changed Chipata. So Mbala can change, not these things. Apply yourselves so that you can provide the services for Mbala. Thank you.
I think we have to move now to another question. We're running out of time. But we still need to hear lastly, why do you involve politics in your business? That's the question that begs an answer. I have not answered that. Then we move to another question, honorable members. Mitete, I think, after she maybe let her answer on that one.
As she'll be answering on the politics. I've seen on the equalization fund, some money is brought forward from the previous year. Does it mean that's the only money for 2020 brought forward into 2021? No any other money? DF.
Maybe let me respond to the issue of us giving a reason of election year. Yes, the Honorable is right. It's not written anywhere that during an election year then we should not enforce as local authorities. Chair, we've taken note the comments that have come, and going forward in terms of the value of the properties, like when we do the review of the valuation roll, we'll make sure that we'll do a lot of sensitization to our people so that they can come through during the process of the valuation, so that when we come up with those figures, they don't come and have challenges to pay, because there is a provision that we can revise once they
but
they
town
comment.
clerk, the issue I think of politics here is very cardinal.
Yes.
You still have to, you imagine you didn't have receive equalization fund, because the equalization fund is not for salaries. That is money that comes from mineral royalties meant for the community, not you, the council. You are simply a conduit pipe to the community. Now you imagine you're not getting all that money. So because of politics, where would you get money to pay your workers from? What service? This is when you need to give a good service to the people. So you won't have tax and you will not be able to offer service. The people can rise. So that's not a very good excuse, really. You don't give that excuse as don't bring in politics. That's the position. Do your work. And when you do your work, when you offer good service, people will have the council. But if you're not offering any service, people will be reluctant to give tax to the council. The purpose of tax is for you to offer service in return. So thank you very much. I think, yeah. We got.
Chair, I will take you to page 10. Chair, failure to reimburse borrowed funds. Chair, the council borrowed about 2,179 was borrowed from the capital project account to meet their operational expenses. Chair, as at 30th September 2022, they only managed to reimburse 141. And this chair has got a negative situation where about 6 projects haven't been implemented because they used this money. I've got a question. How do you expect the town to develop if the capital funds, which are not used for the intended purposes? Secondly, when do you intend to bring back these monies that you borrowed? Because when I checked from your appendix, Chair, they haven't even budgeted for these funds for the year 2023. When do you intend to reimburse the monies that you borrowed? I submit, Chair.
Did you get any permission for borrowing of this money from the Treasury? And if so, where is the evidence?
Chair, we did not get permission from the ministry or from the Treasury, but we just did it internally.
Is that allowed?
No, it's not allowed, Chair.
Go ahead, answer his question.
Chair, we've taken note of the concern from the Honorable MP, and as management, we are equally concerned about, not putting the 20% to the intended, use.
Yeah, because you see here, town clerk, of course you are too new there. No permission gotten from the Treasury. The law, the financial regulation seriously broken. You borrow from where you're not even supposed to borrow from. Why didn't you borrow from salaries so that workers would not be paid? And see if they would allow you to go for a long time without salaries.
Chair, actually, when the borrowed fund was used to supplement on salaries.
That's what I'm trying. I'm giving you an example. I'm saying, you see, I said this. It pains me because this equalization fund comes from mineral royalties to go to your community in Mbala, not you people. But somehow you use it for salaries you're allowed. Now, the only 20% that should help them, again, you get it. To me, that's being greedy. Again, the 20%, you've taken 80% of other people's money for doing nothing. Then again, the 20% they're entitled to, you have given them, again, you take it away. Surely.
Chair, maybe I can give a comment before the Honorable MP can come in. Chair, going forward, we are trying by all means to make sure that when we receive the equalization, we channel it towards the capital funds. The 20% is channeled to that account because we've lined up a number of activities just like the previous years. So we are trying to make sure that we use that money to enhance or broaden the revenue base.
But do you see now his point, Honorable Nyambose's point, that you should collect tax so that that tax can help even in the payment of workers. This is why honorable members are very concerned, but that is not happening. Honorable Mitete.
Chair,
Yeah,
thank you
Nyambose.
so much. One, didn't you have any funds remaining in 2020 other than equalization fund brought forward? Two, you have not reimbursed these funds which you borrowed up to today. When are you reimbursing the funds? Three, what has happened? What will happen to the 6 projects that have stalled?
Thank you, Chair. This is similarly to what Honorable Mtelo and Simumba indicated. You have said that I've learned lessons on the borrowings. Confirm to this committee that from 2022 January to date, you are not borrowing anymore from the 20% equalization fund. You are on record. And if you know the consequences of breaking the law that has been guiding you, and you with impunity you don't take permission, you are aware about the consequences. Are you not worried that you'll be punished by the law? Then finally, the schedule that indicates the repayment of the same, similar to, where is it in this report? Thank you, Chair.
Chair, where was the internal auditor in all these circumstances?
So, Town Clerk, answer the questions. The internal auditor is here. You answer where you were.
Thank you, Chair. I'll attempt to answer a few questions. I think the DF and the internal auditor will come in. On the issue of when are we going to reimburse, I think, Chair, we've really heard your concerns in terms of enforcing on the property rates. So on that one, we will not go backwards. I think we will still go ahead and implement what we've planned, and that is what we were even planning as management, that once we collect property rates, part of it has to go to reimbursing the borrowed funds. So on that one, we are relying on the same ratepayers, and then also we've applied to the ministry, we've written to the ministry, because even the 3 months that I've been there, I think I've seen that the financial position for Mbala Municipal Council is quite bad. So we've written, I think it's there in our list of appendices, that they help us to increase the equalization. And then also, when it comes to grants in lieu of rates, at least they consider Mbala looking at its financial position. And then also, we are talking of having the border there opened. If it is also maybe put as a one-stop border post, I think that can also unlock now the other economic potentials for Mbala. And that's what we are really, really counting on, and that's what we've submitted to the ministry.
There was the last question from Honorable Nyambose.
Yes.
Is Mbala Council not afraid of breaking financial regulations seriously?
And are you still borrowing from January?
For the period 2022, sad to say, the situation continued. I think I've looked through the records, and of course improvements were made, because one project was implemented out of the capital component as planned. But unfortunately, Chair, we still continued to borrow, and this is the reason why we are saying we really, really need help. On top of enhancing our collection rate in the district, but we really need help from the ministry.
Town clerk, in my language we say, I'll say it in my language and in English I'll interpret it. Kusindikirwa wenda. You escort somebody who is walking. Look at your figures here. The government spends 11.9 million on Mbala. Money from elsewhere, from minorities. And how much do you make? 2.8 million. And you are still asking for more money. Is this a viable business if you were a company? You are only raising 2.8 million, which are losses, and I give you to run that company 11 million. Huh? And then you are still asking for more money. Now you have said you have written to be given more money. No, that's not fair.
Maybe, Chair, I can give a comment still on that one.
The question is, why have you continued? The responses that you are giving, Town Clerk, to this committee are welcome, but they are not genuine. In the sense that you have not gone to the ministry either to seek express permission that you be exempted from the 20% capital. You should be using everything that comes to local government equalization fund for salaries. Now, you have not done that. With impunity, you continue to borrow without permission and neglect to do the projects that are supposed to be done under the local government equalization fund 20%. Then further, you want to get more money as Mbala Municipal Council. When you refuse or you neglect to collect local taxes, you want to depend on government. How many councils will depend on government in this difficult financial situation the country is facing this time? That you deliberately, you can't collect what is there for you and the law guides you. You want to depend on the government, solely depending on government. Then why are you there? Thank you.
Yeah. On top of that, we want to know this year what services you have offered as a council to the Mbala people.
Chair, the internal auditor has to come in, number one. Number two, out of 6, she has just said it's only 1, and they have continued to borrow.
Internal auditor, where were you? Maybe we need to check your passport.
Thank you, Chair. As the TC has alluded to, Mbala Municipal Council sat as a management to look at the financial situation, and when the grant was coming, it was not enough to pay for the salaries that Mbala Municipal Council is supposed to pay. As internal auditor, I'm fully aware about the borrowing, and we are trying to correct the situation going forward.
Have you put it into written since 2021? Do you have backing evidence?
At the moment, we don't have, Chair.
Do you know your role? What is your role? What is your role as internal auditor?
Answering yes. The question directed at you.
Yes, my role is to advise management on the compliance of.
Did you advise?
On that one, sir, I intend to do better.
Yes.
I want to
Before my colleague comes in, you've not answered. When are you reimbursing back? You've just left us in suspense. When?
May that question be answered?
Chair, thank you. Like I alluded to, and if you look through our action, or rather the remedial measure, we are saying once the financial position improves, that's when we are going to reimburse. Chair, we don't want to lie here. We want to bring out the situation the way it is. we are fully aware that we really need to reinvest this money because we've earmarked some programs that are going to enhance our revenue, such as the piggery and poultry, as well as renovation of our council guest house. So we really need the same funds to make sure that we actualize the plans that we've seen.
Chair,
Yes,
I think
please.
before you come in, Chair, I'm getting worried because the services that Mbala municipal, I don't know why it's even municipal, because there's some town council that are doing better than this. I don't know what made them to be municipal if they can't give the service to the people. Chair, there are boreholes that were supposed to be done using the very 20% capital projects. That's where I would rely on the very question that Honorable from Mitete had to ask. We would want to find out what have you done to make sure that these 6 projects are implemented. Because I've heard again that we have continued to borrow. Even for 2022, the other chair 20% capital projects money has been borrowed. I don't know if this committee can recommend that maybe Mbala Municipal Council can be Mbala Town Council, so that maybe from the said, you can't have a municipal council chair that is only collecting 2.8 million. What are some of the services that you are giving to the people of Mbala? I submit, Chair.
And I'd asked you that question.
Just to
We'd
add
like
on,
know
just
what
a small
services-
one,
Yeah,
Chair.
Yeah, just as Honorable Nyambosa is coming, may you first begin by answering what services are you offering to the Mbala people?
Just pick those. The question is, have you attempted to write to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development that we be expressly allowed to be ignoring the financial regulation? And when I look at you, colleagues, you are learned people who are supposed to respect the financial regulations. You know the consequences. But you come here and with impunity you continue going against the financial regulations. You meet as management, you don't put it on minute to tell the ministry and get permission. You just continue with impunity. Is that how you run a public office? Is this the way you should run public offices? Besides what honorables have said. Thank you.
Yeah, so start with the services, and then, yeah, sure, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The services that we are providing to the public.
Remember, they are
include,
hearing in Mbala. Thank you.
yes, garbage collection, or rather solid waste
Effectively?
management. Yes, we are really trying on that one. And then we are also maintaining the roads, like
How?
we indicated. So after the rain season, we are going to move into that to make sure that we mend some of the roads that are really, really
Where are you getting
bad.
the money for such?
And then we are also doing the vegetation control. Yes, I think those are maintenance of the markets as well as bus stations. Those are some of the services that we are trying to render. But it has really been difficult, like we've really indicated, and that's the reason why we are not even able to meet monthly salaries to our officers.
Where do you get the money for all those services?
Chair, like you've seen, it's not just the rates that we collect money from. We also do the licensing of business premises. And if you looked through, I think we've really done well in that area because of the task force.
Town clerk, thank you very much. Permanent witnesses, maybe we can, yes, so.
Chair, maybe
No,
one
please.
on CDF also,
No,
only
it's
if
fine.
you would say.
We can go on, but we have run out of time for the instance, so. We have run out of time. I'm also being advised here, so please. Permanent witnesses? I'm sorry, members of Parliament. Please forgive me.
Thank you, Chair. TC and your team, we take note of your submission. We've already been to your station, but we will come and look at your submission to the committee to verify that what you have submitted is factually correct. I submit, Chair.
TC, your team, my advice is for you to improve your internal controls, and the internal controls goes together with adherence to laws and regulations. I've seen in your budgeting you need to put more effort and make sure that you budget according to your capacity. And then I've also seen that the management of equalization funds, borrowing, it should be short term, not long term. When you borrow for a long term, it becomes a misapplication. And then look at your wage bill, your staff. Maybe you have a bloated staff, so that's why you can't meet the salaries. So if you can compare the two and see where you can reduce, and then you can manage to pay through the equalization funds. And then also project management, I've also seen that you have got a lot of stored projects. I know Mbala is one of the municipal where you used to have a lot of projects, minute projects, a lot of them. So I think with the coming of the new CDF, maybe things will improve. Please look on those areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mbala, there's a lot of liquidity issues at the council, and I think I'd just like to encourage you to really sit down, explore potential investments in your jurisdiction, and to take advantage of some of these devolved functions that are coming to Mbala as well. Especially maybe probably could explore issues of tourism as well as the issue you're talking about of the border. Maybe just try and push it further with the powers that be, then so that you supplement your traditional sources and national support as well. Then with your revenue management and expenditure, the Public Financial Management Act and regulations as well, the Government Act and other pieces of legislation are very much at your disposal, so that you strictly follow these to avoid all these queries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. TC and your team, I think you have quite a lot of issues that have come out in the session that you need to further interrogate. Actually, these are in addition to the guidance which were given in the 2023 budget hearing. Exploit your local economic comparative advantage, working hand in hand with Nakonde and Mpulungu. I think you are a hub there. So it is something that you need to do. On property rates, as you have been guided, there are so many options. You can as well go the issues of giving concessional discounts, consideration of remissions, before maybe you go in the extreme of bailiffs. But key, even when you are doing that, is evidence of service delivery, so that every citizen in Mbala will be encouraged as to why they should pay the rates. Chair, I submit.
Yeah, Town Clerk, your council has a lot of problems. And the main purpose you are there is basically to collect revenue, which you should use to offer service. So you're not doing very well in that area. You need to improve, you need to be innovative, widen your scope of collecting taxes. Look at entities that make a lot of money in Mbala. I don't know whether it's a border or whatever it is, but there are entities that get a lot of money from there. Find a way of getting revenue from there so that we can offer tax to the people. Yeah, in terms of land rates, really, you really need to examine it, because even getting bailiffs, you spend money. You might end up spending huge money and you will not recover it. So it means, like I said, when you go to such extreme, it means there's something you're not doing right. And therefore, you need to interrogate, like the term they have used. interrogate what you are doing and see where you can improve so that you can have a good relationship with your clients. Then statutory obligation here, you are owing over 16 million, 16.8 million. You're not taking them seriously. And even when you are told very little that you contributed to try to reduce it. Statutory obligation, when it's an obligation, you have no choice, it has to be done. You don't argue with an obligation. It has to be done, but you're not doing it. NAPSA, so if your workers retire, where do they go to? How do they get the benefits? So you must make sure that this is reduced, and it shouldn't happen as you go on now. Then also the idea of financial regulations being broken, that's a very serious anomaly. Very serious anomaly. It should never happen. Follow procedure and the financial regulations. CDF, you only used 1 million and you failed to use 2.1 million. Very little money. Failure to use money is negligence of duty. You're supposed to be charged. When government money is there and it's stipulated on how it's supposed to be used, you should use it. So even using this money, you are not, then I'm wondering, now we have 28 million. Do you have the capacity to use this money? Otherwise, town clerk, you have a lot of things to improve on. The money that you get from equalization fund is for other people. Please improve. Very true. So we have now come to the end of the session, and your immunity that you are given is now lifted. You may go, and we wish you well. Thank you.